use cases of Web3 through DePIN. This episode of the DePIN Hub podcast is brought to you by Nodi, the new Node as a Service product by DePIN Hub. We've seen that 2025 is the opportunities of the node sales. There's a lot of projects with great opportunities, but to run a node is quite complicated. You need to understand Linux, technical terminology, servers, virtual servers, VPNs, VPS, a lot of complexities that you don't want to have to handle. And even if you do, you want to be able to sleep at night knowing that other people are taking care of that for you, right? Leave this work for the nerds. We guarantee that you're going to have the best service possible and all your nodes are going to be generating passive income for you every day without you having to do any work. So go to depinhub.io/nodes. And that page, you're going to know everything that's happening in our Node as a Service product. And make sure to subscribe to the newsletter because there you're going to know everything that's happening, all the promotions, all the sales, all the great opportunities to make 2025 a great year for us all. Hello everyone, Daniel from DePIN Hub here. Today we're interviewing Jeff Outlaw, CXO and co-founder of YOM, a company revolutionizing gaming and entertainment through its decentralized cloud gaming network. YOM leverages DePIN to make high-performance game stream accessible without the need for expensive hardware. Let's dive into the conversation and learn more about their project. Thanks so much for joining the podcast, Jeff. It's really nice to talk to you. I think we spoke before a few times. You guys were part of the Outlier Ventures DePIN cohort as well. Really excited to know about yourself, your background, your role at YOM, and how the project got started.
Yeah, thanks again for having us on. I appreciate it. So I'll do my background first real quick. I've been making video games since 2000. So I started off back in the GameCube and PlayStation 2 days. And then actually back then I was an artist, but then moved into production and management kind of early on in my career. Spent the bulk of my career there. And I worked at EA and I worked at Oculus. I worked at some of the bigger companies and then some smaller ones too that have really good design sense. But when I saw the crypto wave take over gaming, I said, well, I want to get involved in Web3 gaming. So I kind of moved there. Went through a couple different projects, but landed here at YOM. YOM is as you're saying, we're an infrastructure play. We're a decentralized network for cloud gaming. Because when YOM was originally founded, actually, they were creating games and experiences and then hosting them on Amazon, which they realized very quickly it gets super expensive to do that. So they started looking for a solution and then started building the solution itself. So that's kind of how we started and morphed into what we are now. So we are solving the problem that game studios, game developers have in distribution. Distribution right now, it's limited to people who have the high-end hardware, the consoles, or the heavy gaming PCs. And what we're saying is, through the YOM network, we can stream games, high-quality, AAA quality games, the stuff built in Unreal, to any URL. We're streaming inside of Telegram. We're able to Chromecast. So we bypass that gate of the heavy hardware for anybody who wants to play these games but doesn't have access to them. So for game developers, right now they can reach a much larger audience and market their games to just anybody who's got internet access and a computer. They don't need you do it on a small laptop that you use to do your homework. So that was a great solve, right? It's a coming together of a couple of different technologies, better optimizations, better internet quality, and then the decentralized network itself is a new technology that we're able to leverage to make this happen in a way that couldn't have happened, say, 5 years ago.
Can you explain a little bit how does the technology work and how the DePIN plays a part in that?
Yeah, so what we do is we allow people who have gaming rigs around the world to act as a node in our network, and we network all those gaming computers together, and they act as a central server. It's just decentralized, So that way, we have optimizations that are better than what they used to be. But even still, by having the game player play off of a decentralized node closer to their region, that helps to, again, defeat the lag issue, which is one of the big things that, say, Google Stadia, when Google tried to do this kind of thing, they had the issue of lag that everybody kind of pinged them on. And it's true. It's hard to do from a central server because it's one location trying to hit all these other players. But what we do, again, with this decentralized network is the end user hits the website to play the game, and our orchestrator finds the closest node to them and streams from that node, with the fastest speed. And then we pay those people. There's a way to earn money. If you're a gaming rig owner, and when you go to bed at night or go off to school, you set your gaming rig up as a node, and you're earning money passively. When you walk away, you can earn. It's actually a pretty substantial amount of money. That's the projections, because the cloud gaming market is so massive. So that's kind of how it works. They get all the pieces, I think.
Yeah, no, I remember when Google Stadia came out, I think it was like, I don't know, 2016, 2017, 2018, something like that. And it was a very revolutionizing way to play games, right? Because you have the PlayStation now, which last time I tried was pretty bad. And then actually Stadia worked a little bit. And then I guess a lot of people didn't, a lot of people complain about that, like you were saying. And for one company to actually run, the entire infrastructure, and then the infrastructure is going to be localized in one or a few data centers, you really need that thing that's close to you to actually really have like a fast response time and latency, etc. And what are the things that you guys already built, and what's in the pipeline to get delivered?
Yeah, so we have it's really kind of fascinating when we look at what we've built already and what's actually worked. So we're using a sample game built in Unreal from a partner of ours, and we've used this a number of times because part of the business model that changes with our system is instead of putting you through a subscription service that you have to pay to enter, and then that paywall gets you to the games. What we're doing is, again, putting it on any URL. So we were showing that part of it off at conferences, but having the game hosted in an Amazon server. And the game would be laggy just because an Amazon server. So the team has set up, our very first node, put it in the house of our CTO in Amsterdam. And in Telegram, they were passing the link around to test from the office to his house, there in Amsterdam. And me being curious here in South Carolina, I hit the link also just to see what would happen. And the game played well, like from across the ocean, with no real latency to speak of. And I reached back to the engineers and said, hey guys, I'm playing the game as well at low latency. How is that possible? I couldn't play it off of Amazon, here in the States, but I can play it off of his home computer. They were at first confused as well. When they dug into it deeper, what they found is inside of the Amazon, these big central servers, not just Amazon, I'm sure they all have this problem. The routing to get the signal combined, where you've got the GPU and the sound and whatever's being held in memory, can that all put into one package and sent through their firewall out to the end user? It just causes all kind of lag. But the peer-to-peer connection that we set up, which again is now working, from his home computer to my computer, was just like a video stream. It's very, very fast. So we built that already, and what's the next step for us is to take that one model and span it out. We've got some testers ready to receive a sample of the hardware that we produce to plug into their gaming rigs, and then expand that network so we can put these games out publicly so people can start playing them.
That's really interesting. Like I can really see how actually that makes a lot of difference, right? From like connecting through like a data center through peer-to-peer connecting. So you're directly streaming from one rig to your computer. It's kind of like the PlayStation Portal. I think it's like a little handheld device that you have on PlayStation that the game runs on the PlayStation, right? How big is this market? And like, I have a 4090 at home, but I usually mainly to run some DePIN projects. I'll be happy to promote, YOM and then run things on my machine that other people can go. But I would guess most people don't have that capabilities, right? How big is the market?
It's pretty sizable. Well, in two different directions. So we actually can run on a 2060. It doesn't even really take the 4090. So I've got a gaming laptop with a 2060, and I can run two instances at once. So I can basically host two players at the same time off of that 2060. The 4090s, our projections are somewhere around 8 users at the same time. But the market's actually sizable enough that as we know that scalability is one of our challenges. We're going to need to grow and get more nodes out into the marketplace. But it is pretty robust. And then we have access to, say, internet cafes and other data centers around the world who are using the same cards that don't have that same connection issue that the big central servers like Amazon have. But we really do think the gaming market itself now on the gaming side, we're a little bit oversubscribed. Like there are a lot of gaming projects who want to get involved, and we actually at the beginning are going to have limited slots because we don't want to oversaturate. We don't want to cause the delays people have with, like I think GeForce Now is having this issue where people are trying to go on a Friday night when everyone's trying to hit the game at the same time and they're getting long wait times. Like we don't want to have that. So our solve for that at the beginning is to scale slow enough that we have a lot of games on there, enough to give out a good reward for people who are hosting the nodes, but not cause the players any kind of frustration of not being able to play.
Yeah. What is the timeline that you guys have to release like the first test phase or test net?
Yeah. So we hope to have that out by middle February, in time for me to be at ETH Denver and be able to show it off there. But that, again, is still going to be limited to about a dozen nodes, but they're spread out. Canada, United States, Uruguay, Europe, and I think that we may have one in Asia. We may not.
Okay. Yeah. If you need one in Portugal or in Brazil, let me know. We have I have 49 spread around the place.
Yeah, we'll have to hit you up with some of that. Yeah, so we're doing our tests in 3 waves, and that first wave is a 12, and then we're going to double that to 24, then double that again to 48 is our current plan. So 3 waves. So somewhere around wave 2, I'll make sure that you get involved in.
Yeah, let's do it. Sounds a lot of fun. So what are the components that you have? The streamer node. I guess that's the computer, right? Like that has the 2070, etc. And then what are other nodes or parts of the project that you have running right now?
2 different ways currently to act as a node operator, right? You can either buy the license, or what we'll be doing is selling the license, and taking that license, you can go to one of the node as a service providers and delegate that license. So that way it's much more turnkey for people who don't have that kind of, maybe they don't have the hardware themselves, but they buy into the vision and they want to earn some yield. So you can buy the node license, and that's going to be a relatively easy way to get in. But then the second way to get in is to actually own the hardware, which is, it really is an SSD that has a specialized version of Linux installed on it. And by booting off of that drive as opposed to your normal drive, then your computer gets seen as a node on the network. And the yield is better there because you're not having to pay the node as a service subscription fee. But again, you have to have the hardware at the beginning to at your own gaming hardware, and then this node.
I guess if you already have a gaming PC that you don't use all the time, like me, I think it's a pretty good idea to just buy the hardware and plug it in.
We're getting a lot of people who are like that. I've got an old gaming computer that's kind of sitting around gathering dust. Can I plug that in? And so long as it's an RTS card, the answer is yes.
For those out there who are listening, the Node as a Service, also DePIN Hub is building one. Hopefully going to work as well with YOM. You go depinhub.io/nodes. There's going to be a lot of information there coming up. It's a very interesting way that we're trying to build as well, right? Like really make a turnkey solution for everyone who wants to get involved in those projects without having to actually understand the technologies, buy servers, and understand the complexity. Leave the complexity to the nerds here, and then we give the yield back to you, right?
The upside of all this, Daniel, is that one big vision of ours is that we're decentralizing revenue as well. So instead of paying Jeff Bezos and these big corporations all this money and have them centralize all that revenue, when we do this right, we're decentralizing revenue and putting money into local economies because someone has a computer sitting in their house that's not being used, right? And we know that GPU cycles is going to be the major resource that people are going to be vying for. AI needs GPU cycles, and they're going to be going to those central servers and jacking the price up even higher than what it currently is. And so us using all these idle GPUs and selling those cycles to the market, it seems natural. It seems like a better thing for the environment, a better thing for local economies. We're very psyched about that aspect of it as well.
This is what makes me wake up in the morning excited about building the DePIN ecosystem, right? Like using idle resources that are already paid for. You're already like your disk, your computer, your CPU, GPU, etc. You're already paid for it. It's just idle resource. Let's use it for a good thing and make some passive income with that. That's the beauty of DePIN, right? I was looking at the documentation, etc. You guys have 2 tokens, a YOM and YRX, right? Can you talk about this? How do they work together?
Sure. The YOM token is the actual trading token. It's the payment system for the people who are operating the nodes. So when game developers want to put their game onto our network, they pay a fee, and then they pay per stream that goes out. And they can pay in fiat. We'll do the conversion for them, but we convert it into YOM, and then we sell that. We give those YOM tokens, or actually they're earned by the people who are operating the nodes. So that's a payment system. The YRX token is actually a soul-bound token. It's a participation meter for us. So one of the ways we judge which node gets the work is how much YRX that node operator has earned. This is it's a reputation system, right? Because we want to prevent things like people disconnecting inappropriately. There's a way to disconnect. You've got to do it the right way. We want to award people who are part of our socials. We give out YRX for social contests. You just join our Discord or Telegram, and it's really done through Discord, but we award YRX each day to people who are helping us out with our socials and spreading the word. So that's what it is. And then that'll feed into the DAO. As we stand the DAO up, YRX is the way again to judge that this person's been around for a long time. They've been doing a lot for our community, so they should have more leverage in the DAO. That's the way that YRX works, but it's not tradable token. It's a soul-bound token, and it's again used as a measurement for reputation.
So it's more like a point system, basically. It's bound to a wallet.
Yeah.
That connects to user. Okay. Nice. Yeah, one thing that is important for users to know is that the gaming industry is bigger than Hollywood, right?
It's bigger than movies, music, and TV combined. It's bigger. It's massive, and it's been that way for years. I don't think people recognize it. It's funny, when I came out of art school, the decision was to go to advertising, to go to movies, or go to games. And as soon as I started playing, like I think the Tomb Raider 2 maybe, or Resident Evil 2, I was like, okay, games is where I want to go because this is going to go somewhere. And sure enough, 20 years later, it proves I was right.
Yeah, I know it's crazy because I think people who are not very into gaming or game industry don't realize how big this is. By the way, Resident Evil and Tomb Raider, I played so much. Like I remember playing 97 Tomb Raider 1, so scary. But anyway, yeah, that's such a topic for another time. And then, so how do you YOM platform enhances the user experience for gamers, developers, and brands? Because you're gonna start with like a few nodes, a few games, and then expand from there.
Yeah, but it's really easy to see, like, some of when you look at the Steam top games, right? Top 100 games. What you see is the first 5 games get a lot of attention, and then there's a very quick drop, and there's a long tail of games that are probably great games, but just people don't see them. Steam is incentivized to sell the high vision games, or the ones that get the most attention, and they kind of do start to ignore you as you get down the tail. What we're saying is, beyond the block of having the hardware being an issue, like you don't have the hardware to run those games, just having access through a website is a major change to the way the games are distributed. Now those games that have been built and they have that long tail that didn't get noticed, they just drive traffic through sending a link. So I said better this way. If I find a game that I really like and I want you to play with me, right? It's a cool game, you should try it with me. If the current version is I send you the link on Steam, you download and install the game, then you update your drivers, and then 4 hours later, you and I are playing against each other, right? Instead, what we're saying is I put the game on, the developer puts the game on the website, I send you a link to the website, and you and I are playing instantly. Or better yet, I'm sending you the link inside of Telegram. I'm sending you the game inside of Telegram, the game embedded in Telegram. And so think of how fast those games will be spread virally when they're that easy to get to by even more people than have the hardware. That's the whole upside of it.
Yeah, I mean, games nowadays are also so big, right? I was like the other day inviting a friend, oh, let's play some Fortnite. Oh, sure, it's only 100 gigabytes. Okay, see you in a few hours, right? So
people run out of hard drive space. That's the other issue that we overcome. We actually had even worse than that. We had one of the guys in our community had hit up a game on Steam, installed. It wasn't even an Unreal game. Installed it on his computer. It drained his wallets. Steam didn't put any kind of blocks or checks to see that it wasn't going to hack his computer. Yeah, he was upset, and he should have been, right? So Steam apologized, but they're not going to redeem his tokens that he lost. So again, not having to install the game on your computer is another big plus for gamers, right? It adds security.
yeah, I know the future is super exciting with this YOM technology. Can you talk a little bit about your business model as well? Like how does the ecosystem work together?
Yeah, so we sell on both ends. It's what they call a two-way market, right? We sell network time to game developers so they can get their game onto our network and then stream it to, again, any URL or Telegram. So we sell them the network time, and then we sell the nodes to people who want to operate a node and get part of that yield. Again, they keep actually the lion's share. We take 30% of the revenue generated by the sale of the network time, and then 60% gets distributed, 65% gets distributed to the people who are operating the nodes. So I expect that I'll be operating a node, as will my son, so that he can buy that new monitor he wants. But that's the way. It's a two-way market is a way to envision it.
How hard is for for a brand or what's the word, the company who makes the games to actually port their games to YOM ecosystem?
Yeah, so we have an SDK. It's available on our website through our docs page. Depending on the complexity of the project, it can be as easy as an afternoon to plug in our SDK. Some projects might take longer. If your project is very complex, or if there are a lot of plugins that you use, so because we operate on a Linux system, the plugins that you might be using have to be compiled in Linux, and not every plugin has that immediately. So sometimes that might take some work. But truly, it can be as short as half a day to get the game install our SDK, and then we have a deployment website. So they just click and drag the correct files to the website, designate what URL they want to broadcast from, and then their game is live. It can be that quick.
And then you can see it's going to have some sort of a Steam dashboard or something like that you can see all the games. You can just click, or like a Steam or more like GeForce Now, right? You can see all the games, just click play, and then boom, it starts streaming and you start playing.
Yeah, so you can monitor your node and watch and see how many game hours your node has streamed. The game developer can watch to see how many streams of their game are going at any one time. What we are working with an outside partner to do is to build an aggregator that'll take all these different games and put them into one place so that people can reach them pretty quickly. Those will be pretty easy to spring up. I imagine there'll be probably more than one, but we'll have a nice interface. You can think of it. The way that we envision it in the years to come is it's like a YouTube of games, right? Because our stream is really just a video stream that goes two ways. So having a place you can go to and just sample all the games, you filter by whatever genre game you want to play. But yeah, it's going to be that kind of powerful.
And then in the future, you can even have you just want to watch other people to play the game. So you can just enable that feature. And you could have different nodes that's going to work as kind of like a pub sub method, like MQTT, that you're streaming one way, but then there's a node that I can stream to all the people. I mean, I'm just like brainstorming here some ideas.
Totally expect some kind of the Twitch or some other viewing service integration. That's to be expected. That's how games are. That's how a lot of people are actually consuming games no longer, just being an observer and watching the game being played. And sometimes that's going to be really, really fun. You get the right gamer, running the stream who's pretty entertaining, and it can be an evening just well spent.
Yeah, I know. I sometimes watch people playing games because it's a fun. It's the same thing as watching a sport, right? Like esport. And the person sometimes a lot of really entertaining, like you're saying. Also, being able to play AAA games on the phones or on the tablets, like low end devices, etc. I think it's pretty interesting.
Well, the use case is, right, you've played the game at home, but then you've got to commute into work, and you take the train into work, and you've got another 2 hours, one way, an hour one way to work and 1 hour back. But you can still play that same game with your same account now on your phone. That's part of what the SDK does. It does a conversion from keyboard controls to touchscreen controls, those kinds of things.
What are the milestones that you guys achieved last year in 2024, and what do you see the project growing in 2025 and beyond?
Yeah, so last year was basically a restart up, because it was in January of last year that we got away from the idea of creating our own experiences and really focusing on the delivery system. So that took up much of the year, including some travel to some of the big conferences, getting investors to get on board, getting into that. You mentioned that we were in the accelerator program, and that brought us all the way to shipping our first node and getting that test that I was talking about running from Amsterdam to South Carolina. Now this year we have set up the year into 4 different quarters. The first is our get ready to launch in the first quarter. The launch will happen in the second quarter, and that will also include a token, migrating the token over to the Peak network, which we're a big fan of. They're focused on DePINs, and we're really strong. That's a very strong partnership that we're very proud of. So that happens in the second quarter. Third quarter is scaling it up, putting even more nodes out into the ecosystem and making sure that we can add more games. And then by the fourth quarter, our expectation is to be saturated. And at that point, we can do things like add a Unity SDK to our availability. Maybe start working with AMD cards, not just NVIDIA cards, if that's a call for it. So that's the way that we see the next year's milestones schedule. We just released our roadmap about a week ago. So
I guess there's a lot of work ahead as well, right?
Yeah, there's a lot to do.
Is there anything that you'd like to tell the community about YOM, about the project, where to get involved and how to learn more?
Yeah, they should go to yom.oo. The website is actually it's getting a heavy revamp, so there should be even more information there. I actually like our Twitter feed now. Our YouTube channel is pretty important to us. We do a town hall every Thursday. So we try to get information out that way, and that allows people to ask us questions. It's a live town hall. Sometimes we have guests, sometimes it's just me, sometimes it's me and some of the other founders. But we talk about the project there. So the YouTube channel is very important to us. And then our Discord and Telegram are both available through yom.oo. So I think join either community that you're most, whichever chat program you're more familiar with, join both of them.
Yeah, also you have YOM on DePIN Hub. DePINHub.io/project/YOM. You get all the information there. We're going to put link in the video of this interview as well, and all the links that Jeff mentioned as well there, along with like project updates and other things going to happen. Well, Jeff, thanks so much for joining the podcast. I think it's really cool to see what you guys are building, and I believe that the future of game streaming is definitely the future of game, right? I think people won't want to buy expensive hardware if they don't have to. and that's why it can be inclusive. And also DePIN, it's beautiful to see how DePIN can actually help that to happen.
We say we're not just changing the game, we're flipping the board over and starting again something even better.
Yeah, I hope to get you on the podcast again in a few months or in a year to see all the progress that you guys did. And because, I want to be following closely with the project. Hopefully I can use my graphic card, get a node, host one of your nodes also on DePIN Hub. And yeah, let's build. It's time to build. Let's go.
Let's do it. Thanks, Daniel.
Thank you.
Cheers.